Mira stood in the middle of the throne room and looked at the crown resting on a velvet cushion. It was beautiful. Gold, with small blue stones set along the edges. Everyone in the room expected her to reach for it. Everyone expected her to say yes. She did not move. "No," she said. The word echoed through the hall. Guards standing near the walls looked at each other in surprise. A young beta wolf near the window forgot to breathe for a moment. No one had ever refused King Draven Ashwood. Not once, not in living memory. Draven stood a few steps away from her. He was tall, strong, and calm in the way that powerful men often are. But when he heard her answer, something in his face changed. It was small, almost impossible to notice. But Mira saw it. Surprise, maybe even hurt. "No?" he repeated, as if the word tasted strange in his mouth. "I am not going to be your queen," Mira said. Her voice was steady, even though her heart was pounding. "I don't want the crown. I don't want to rule beside you." She turned and walked out of the throne room before he could say another word. She did not look back. Looking back, she believed, would only make things harder. She had spent years learning how to close doors behind her and keep them closed. She was not going to open one now. 3 states away, Mira found work in a small diner. It was a simple place, with old wooden tables and the smell of coffee and fried eggs always in the air. She wore a plain uniform and a name tag that said only Mira. No last name, no titles. Just Mira, pouring coffee for truck drivers and tired travelers who never asked questions. She liked this life. It was quiet. It was hers. One afternoon, the bell above the diner door rang. She did not need to turn around to know who had walked in. She could feel it, a strange pull in her chest, like a string tied around her heart, that someone far away had just pulled tight. "You are a long way from your kingdom," she said, still wiping down the counter. "And you are a long way from making a wise decision," Draven answered. She turned around slowly. He looked the same as before, strong and serious, but there was a new scar above his left eyebrow, thin and pale, like it had healed a long time ago but still remembered the pain. "That is new," she said, nodding toward the scar. "Your old pack's guards were not happy when I came looking for you." Mira's hands stopped moving. "You went to my old pack?" "I went everywhere," he said simply. She did not ask what everywhere meant. She picked up the coffee pot and filled a stranger's empty cup, keeping her hands busy so they would not shake. That night, she packed her bag and left town before sunrise. For many months, this became a pattern. Mira would arrive at a new pack, a new town, a new job. She would stay for a few days, sometimes longer if she was lucky. Then Draven would appear. He never shouted. He never threatened her. He would simply ask, in a quiet voice, if she had changed her mind. She always said no, and then she would run again. Pack Thistlewood kept her safe for 11 days before he found the edge of their land. Pack Rourke lasted only 6 days. Pack Halloway barely gave her 1 full night before she felt him near the border and climbed out through a back window, her shoes still in her hands. Each time she ran, she heard stories later about how his wolf had howled through the night, loud enough that people 3 towns away woke up wondering what was wrong. She began to feel tired, not just in her body, but somewhere deeper. She stopped fully unpacking her bags. She kept them zipped and ready by the door, no matter which house or room she was staying in. In one of the packs, an old woman named Grandma Soline, blind in one eye but sharp in every other way, took Mira's hand one evening. "You smell like someone running from the wrong thing," she said. "I am running from a king," Mira answered. The old woman shook her head slowly. "No, dear. You are running from being loved the right way. That is a very different thing to run from." Mira pulled her hand back gently. The words stayed with her long after she left that pack before sunrise, just like all the others. By the time she reached her 9th pack, she had lost count of how many places she had run to. That thought scared her more than anything Draven had ever done. It was raining hard the night everything changed. Not a soft rain, but the kind that seems to fall from every direction at once. Mira had been running for almost 3 miles through a thick forest, her breath coming out in short, painful gasps. Her legs burned. Her chest ached. Then the ground in front of her was no longer empty. It was Draven, standing there, waiting. She stopped so suddenly she almost fell. "You got here before me," she said, staring at him through the rain. "I stopped chasing you 4 packs ago," he said. "I started guessing where you would go instead." "That is somehow worse," she said, trying to catch her breath. "That is what happens when someone loves another person who refuses to let things be simple." The word love sat quietly between them in the rain. Neither of them picked it up right away. "I don't want a crown," Mira said, her voice breaking into short pieces. "I don't want a throne. I don't want people bowing to me." "I don't want a queen either," Draven said. She blinked the rain out of her eyes, confused. "Then what do you want?" she asked. He took a step closer. For the first time in all these months, his voice shook slightly when he spoke. "I want the woman who said no to a king and meant every word of it. Keep your no. Keep all of it. Just stop running from me, as if I am the thing that hurt you." Something inside Mira's chest, something old and tightly locked, cracked open just a little. She did not say yes. But she did not run away either. They stood there together in the rain, both soaked through, both tired in ways that had nothing to do with the weather. That night, Mira did not sleep in the guest quarters of his pack, with their soft beds and polite distance. Instead, she sat at the edge of the forest with Draven, both of them still wet from the storm, saying very little. "The crown is still sitting on that cushion," he said after a long silence. "No one has touched it since you left." "Good," she said. "You could burn it, if you wanted. I would not stop you." Mira looked down at her own hands. For the first time in many months, they were completely still. "Maybe later," she said quietly. It was not a yes, but it was not a no, either. For a woman who had spent years keeping every door firmly shut, those 2 small words were the loudest thing she had said in a very long time. Over the following weeks, something began to shift between them. Draven did not push her to return to his kingdom. He did not mention the crown again. Instead, he simply stayed near, in small ways. He helped repair a broken fence at the edge of the packland where she was staying. He brought her tea in the mornings without saying much at all. He waited. Mira noticed these small things. She noticed how different this patience felt compared to the Chase she had known before. One morning, she asked him a question that had been sitting in her mind for weeks. "Why did you keep looking for me? After the first pack? After the second? Why not just let me go?" Draven thought about this for a long moment before answering. "Because letting you go felt like giving up on something true. I did not want a queen who accepted a crown out of duty. I wanted someone who chose to stand beside me because she wanted to, not because a title told her to." "And if I never choose that?" Mira asked. "Then I will still be glad I know you," he said, "even if you never come back to that throne room." These words settled into Mira's heart differently than anything he had said before. There was no pressure in them, no demand, just honesty. Slowly, over many more weeks, Mira began to trust the quiet space between them. She began to unpack her bags fully for the first time in almost a year. She stopped listening for the sound of his wolf in the distance with fear. Instead, she began to listen for it with something closer to comfort. One evening, as the sun set behind the trees, she finally spoke the words she had been holding back. "I am not doing this because of the crown," she said. "I am not doing this because I am supposed to be a queen. I am doing this because I choose you, just you." Draven looked at her carefully, as if making sure he had heard her correctly. "Not the throne?" "Never the throne," Mira said, smiling for what felt like the first time in months. "Just this. Just us." He reached for her hand, and this time, she did not pull away. They walked back toward his kingdom together, side by side, neither one leading nor following the other. When they reached the throne room, the crown was still sitting exactly where it had been left, gathering a thin layer of dust. Mira looked at it for a long moment. Then she picked it up, not to wear it, but to set it aside on a nearby table. "I will stand beside you," she said, "but not because of this." Draven nodded, understanding completely. "Then let it just be a piece of gold," he said. "Nothing more." And for the first time since she had first said no in that very room, Mira felt no urge to run. She felt only the quiet strength of choosing to stay, not out of duty, but out of love, that had finally found its own steady pace.